The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today we're going to speak about current events in the, instead of the Haftarah in the Parsha, amazing current events in the Parsha. The beginning of this week, the head of Hezbollah gave an interview about the tunnels that he says that we didn't discover all of the tunnels that they're digging underneath. There's certain tunnels that we didn't discover yet. So he gave this interview this week. Why is that? Not the tunnel of love. No, not the tunnel of love. But if you take a look at this week's Parsha, Exodus 22:1, Avram. You have a book in front of you. Yeah. Exodus 22:1. Here the Torah speaks about Hezbollah's tunnels. Would you believe that? No. Yeah, Exodus 22:1, the Torah speaks about Nasrallah's tunneling underneath our homes, as they were doing, and they said they're still doing it. Exodus 22:1. When someone is tunneling into your home, you're supposed to kill him. Ein loy damim. There's no blood on your hands. Isn't that Kawinky Dinky? Parsha of the week. Speaking about Hamas tunnels, or Hezbollah tunnels, current events. So the Torah is telling us that we don't play games. You're supposed to shoot to kill. You have a book. It's Exodus 22:1. It's amazing how the Parsha of the week always seems to speak about current events, right? Someone is tunneling in under your home, into your territory. He is a dead man, the Torah teaches. He's like a walking zombie, and if you kill him, ein loy damim, there's no blood on your hands.
Does that mean only at night, though, right?
No, at night, that's the, so the Talmud says that is a metaphor. It doesn't matter night or day. That's not, that means if you know for sure that he's coming to kill you. But if it's clear as day that he's not coming to kill you, then you're not allowed to kill him. So the Talmud says, when is it clear? If the sun rose on him, what does that mean? So the Talmud says in Bava Kama, it's only a metaphor. If it's as clear to you as the sun is shining in the midday sky that he's not coming to kill you, then you're not allowed to kill him. So the $64 question is, Avram, you're supposed to ask the terrorist, excuse me, are you coming to kill me?
Basket of fruit.
What?
21 what?
Exodus 22:1 and 1 and 2. So Rashi quotes the Talmud on that. If it's as clear to you as day that he's not coming to kill you, as the sun is shining, and the Talmud says that the only case is if a father is breaking into the home of his son to steal. There, the son is not allowed to kill the father. Otherwise, anybody, if someone breaks into your home, you're allowed to kill him, because why is that? Because he knows if you're going to protect your money, he's going to kill you to get to his money. Who's not going to protect his property, right? But the only case where the sun is shining, that metaphor is only, and Rashi quotes the Gemara here, that what? If it's sure, if Parshat Mishpatim, right? In no way, only a father who's tunneling under the home of his son to rob his son. So we know for sure that the father, what? Would in no case kill his son. So then, the son is not allowed to kill the father. But otherwise, you're permitted to kill him. We know that the love that a parent has for a child is much stronger than what? The child for a parent. How do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know that? We know that there's a saying that a parent can take care of 10 children, but 10 children cannot take care of one parent. Right? Why is it like that? And how do we know it's like that? It's actually a parsha in the Torah. In Parshat Vayechi, remember Yehuda is pleading. He thinks he's talking to Tutankhamun. He doesn't know what Yosef. And he says, oh, Benjamin was the baby then. Wasn't a baby. Benjamin, you look at the text, had 10 sons. Little Benjamin already was the father of 10 children. Because you take a look in Parshas Vayigash, little Benjamin was the father of, the Torah gives the family tree of all the brothers that came down. Little Benjamin had 10 children. So Yehuda is pleading to Tutankhamun, you can't allow Benjamin to remain. Benjamin must return home. because otherwise his old father will die of a broken heart. He keeps speaking, Benjamin's old father will die of a broken heart. His old father, you cannot keep him in bondage. You have to let him go. Not once they say, what about Benjamin's
Children.
10 children? What about them? Why doesn't he plead? What about the orphans? He only pleads for the old father, but not for the 10 children. So the Mepharshim say, but that's the way it is. The 10 children will get along fine. Well, dear old dad is gone, right? They'll get along. But the old father, he'll die of a broken heart.
Wow.
And that's human nature. The question is, why is it like that? Why is the love of a parent much stronger than what? Than the other way around? Why? It's human nature. The more you give to someone, the more you grow to love him. And since parents are constantly giving to their children nonstop, therefore the love is so great. That is human nature. The more you give to someone, the more you what?
Love them.
Grow to love them. Isn't that amazing? And therefore, there's another reason. The first human couple, did they have parents?
No.
Right, Nachum? The first human couple had no parents. Right? So all the love in their heart was channeled to what? To their kids. They had no parents to give that love. So therefore, that's the way it is. It's in the DNA. You know what DNA stands for? Divine natural ability. It's in the DNA that since the first Adam and Chava had no human parents, all their love was channeled to the children. So therefore, that's the way it is, that parents love their children much more than what? Than the children love them. So therefore, if a parent breaks into a child's house, then he's not allowed the child is not allowed to kill him, because the love of a parent is much stronger than what?
Love a child.
Child back. Let's get back to the beginning of Ve'ela HaMishpatim. Exodus 21:1. We're going back to Exodus 21:1. Ve'ela HaMishpatim. And these are the judgments that you shall place in front of them. The whole parsha here speaks about miskenim. Echom in the English, Benjamin miskenim. Miskenim. In English, how do you say miskenim in English?
Poor thing. A poor thing.
Poor thing. Look, it's speaking about avodim, yetonim, almonot, people that are what? Zebrachen. How do you say that in English?
Broken.
Right?
Broken.
Who sells himself into slavery? He can't afford to feed himself. He sells himself into slavery. And then it speaks about the widow and the orphan and people that are abused and attacked and wounded and are sick. The whole parsha is about miskenim. What's it all about? Says the Zohar something incredible. Ve'ela HaMishpatim. This is God's mishpat. That this whole parsha, says the Zohar, is the key to reincarnation. You see innocent people that are suffering in this world. Who is more innocent than a child? This is God's mishpat. God's judgment, says the Zohar, works through reincarnation. So this whole parsha, what are afflicted people, widows and orphans and people down on their luck, sick and wounded, they seem to be innocent. Why are they suffering? Ve'ela HaMishpatim, says the Zohar, this is the way God's mishpat operates. That there is such a thing as reincarnation, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mishpat, how do you say mishpat in English? Judgment works through reincarnation, and therefore these people that are suffering, even though they're innocent in their lifetime, but it's tikkunim, how do you say that in English? Rectifications. We all come here, all of us are recycled neshamas. So every person that suffers down here, even though he's innocent, in fact, the whole book of Eov was written. The Ramban says the book of Eov was written to prove, even though Eov was a righteous person, but when a tzaddik suffers, and who's more innocent than a child, the secret is, says the Zohar, the secret is what? Reincarnation, Gilgulim, and that's the key to the mystery of why the innocent seem to suffer. The Almana, the Yatam, the Ani, the Eved, the Zohar says it's Gilgulei Neshamos, and that's the Tikkun. You cannot always get what you want, but you get what you need. You get what you need. And this, it goes on further. It goes on further. If you look at Exodus 21:13, someone kills somebody by accident. The Torah says there really are no such thing as accident. A person can die lo yaleinu through an accident, but never by accident. Exodus 21:13. Would you mind reading that, Abraham? What a verse. Exodus 21. Here's talking about accidental homicide. Right? Accidental homicide.
But for one who had not lain in ambush, and God had caused it to come to his hand, I shall provide you a place to which you shall flee.
What do you mean God caused it to come? He didn't plan to kill the person, right? It was an accident. But God caused it to happen. So the Torah is teaching that people die through accidents, but never by accident.
So like a car accident,
right?
also?
People can die through accidents, but never by accident. It's all part of the mysterious plan, right? Very, very, very strange. Very strange. Remember that Mishnah in Masechta Avot. Hillel saw a floating skull. You remember there's a Mishnah in Avot? So before Hamlet spoke, "Oh, alas, O Yorick." So what did Hillel say to the floating skull, Avram? What did he say? Because you drowned others, therefore you were drowned. And the ones that drowned you will be drowned. Now, did Hillel know the skull? He's speaking to a skull. So this is the secret of this Mishnah, the secret of reincarnation. If this person drowned, even though he didn't do nothing wrong in this lifetime, it must be that in a previous lifetime, he did something to cause him to be drowned. We don't know God's cheshbonot. We see such a tiny piece of the picture. We don't know the whole story. But there is such a thing as Gilgul Neshamot. And this Parsha teaches us that. Otherwise, how do you explain the whole Parsha speaking about all of these Sprecher mentioned? People that are down and out, down in their luck, and the only answer can be what? The Zohar says is reincarnation. Is reincarnation Gilgul Neshamos, and the Ari points out something amazing. Who's having you good in Gematria, right? The word Gilgul, Gimel Lamed, Gimel Vav Lamed, has the same Gematria as the word Chesed. It's a Chesed Habore that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will recycle that neshama as many times as it takes in order to what? To get to perfection. We're all climbing the soul ladder. Avram, I'm a soul man. So every time you're having a bad hair day, what should you say? Thanks, I needed that. Thanks, I needed that. Right? It's pretty incredible. That, right? What a wonderful world it would be if we could actually live like that. Then no one can harm a hair on my head unless what?
God says yes.
God, right? It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. As the Pasuk says, that he didn't plan it. Hashem caused it to happen. Hashem caused it to happen. And Rashi brings the amazing mashal. What happened? That he killed this person. Bishogeg. That means, Yosef, these two people had unfinished business. An incredible Rashi. It's actually Gemara Makkos, page 10, that Rashi is quoting. Lo Yaleinu, someone is involved in an accident. He didn't know the guy, and he killed him. He didn't know the guy. So Rashi is saying that these two people have unfinished business from a previous life cycle. And God brings them together again. Because they have it's not only that, every person you meet, Avram, every person you meet in this lifetime, that means, Avram, we've met before. Deja vu, all over again.
What about non-Jews?
Same thing. The same thing. Anybody you meet in this life, you have met before. There are no such thing as coincidences. Coincidences is God's way of remaining anonymous. What looks like a coincidence is only God's way of remaining what?
If you're born a Jew.
If
you're born a Jew, can you can
what?
be from a Gilgal who's a non-Jew?
That's right. The Zohar says that what about a convert to Judaism? A convert to Judaism, right? Now we know that a Jew has a different type, a neshama. We all have a tzelem Elohim. All of us have a godly soul. Jew, Gentile, we all have a tzelem Elohim. But a Jew on top of that has a chelik Elohai mimal. Whatever that means, right? Every human being is a tzelem Elohim. How do I know that? Because Adam and Chava were not Jewish, and the Torah says clearly that they what? Had a tzelem Elohim. But on top of that, a Jew has a chelik Hashem amo. It's actually, you have the text in front of you. It's Deuteronomy 32. So it's not being racist at all. It's not being racist at all. If you take a look at Devarim, the Torah says so. The Torah says so in Devarim. In Zot HaBracha, Torah tells us, Ki chelek Hashem amo. That pasuk here, actually it's in Hazinu. It's Devarim 32:9. Ki chelek Hashem amo. God is a portion of his people. That's what it literally says in the Hebrew. We're a piece of the rock. So the question is, if a non-Jew converts to Judaism, then does he get a soul transplant? So that the Zohar asked that question. So the Zohar answers as follows. It always says in the Talmud, Ger shenitgayer kekotan shenoladami. A convert who converts is like a newborn baby. Is that proper dikduk? It should have said Goy shenitgayer. Nochon Benyamin? Goy shenitgayer kekotan shenoladami. But it never says Goy shenitgayer kekotan shenoladami. Never, in any Talmudic language. All the Torah Shalpeh, it only says Ger shenitgayer. A convert who converts is a newborn baby, born again. What do you mean a convert who converts? Sounds like double talk.
Yeah.
It should say a non-Jew who converts, but it doesn't say that. It says the Zohar. Why? Because a non-Jew really cannot convert. Because a Jew has a different type of soul. We all have a godly image, but a Jew has an extra dose. Chelik Elohai mimal. So therefore, the Zohar explains it doesn't say a non-Jew who converts, because he's not going to get a soul transplant. It says Ger shenitgayer. He was always Jewish, but he needed a tikkun. How do you say that? He needed a rectification for whatever, that in the previous life cycle he did something, so now he has to be born a non-Jew to go through that anguish. And once the anguish, the tikkun is made, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back. So therefore, if a person goes through the process and he finishes it, it shows that from the get-go he was always a Jewish neshama. How do you say fablunget? It got fablunget. Tikkunim. He had to go through that anguish, that trauma, and when the tikkun is made, welcome back. But if he goes through the process and he doesn't finish it, it's a sign that what? It's a false alarm. It's a false alarm. He's not a Jewish soul. Keep the 7, go to heaven. A righteous Gentile is great. The only person in the Chumash that's called a tzaddik, Avram is not Jewish. Shall I repeat that? The only person in the Chumash that's called a tzaddik Tomim, not just a tzaddik, but a perfect tzaddik is a non-Jew. Noach. So you don't have to be Jewish to eat Levi's rye bread, and you don't have to be Jewish to be a tzaddik. Okay? So,
Adam wasn't righteous.
well, of course he was righteous, but he wasn't Jewish. Adam wasn't Jewish, was he? Of course. And Shem, Aver, Noach. But the only person called tzaddik in the Torah is Noach. Noach. And therefore, the non-Jews are called Bnei Noach, because that's their role model. They could all be like him if they keep the 7 and they go to heaven. Keep the 7, go to heaven. So here the Torah speaks about the parsha of an Eved Ivri, a slave. Now we know that Torah is forever. We ain't got no slaves today, right? So why do we read this parsha today? We know that God's Torah is GPS, God's personal system. We don't have no slavery today. So why open up the Parshat Mishpatim with the Parsha of what? Of slavery. I could think of some other topic to open up with. There's more than one type of slavery, Billah. A person living in a free democracy can be a slave to Facebook, to a dumb phone, smartphone, right? There are many different types of slaveries. To fashion, right? To concepts, isms, used to be communism, socialism, secularism. There's more than one type of slavery, Avraham. All of us, whether we know it or not, are enslaved to our Yetzer Hara, whatever it is. Everyone has their own Yetzer Hara that he's addicted to, that he's a slave, and he can free himself by what? And it's just an amazing, this idea goes so far.
Himself by what?
By what? This idea goes so far. It's just amazing. If you look in Vayikra, if you look in, you have the book in front of you, some of you do, in Vayikra 25, Vayikra 25, it says on the Yovel, you shall proclaim liberty throughout the land to all our inhabitants. The Jubilee year is even that Hebrew slave that had his ear drilled, right? He wants to remain by his master. His master is good to him. When it comes to Jubilee, Exodus 25, verse 10 says, you shall proclaim liberty throughout the land to all our inhabitants. That's what Ben Franklin got it on their Liberty Bell. Not a joke. Vayikra 25, Pasuk 10. But this is only speaking about an Eved Ivri got his ear drilled. How many Eved Ivris with the ear drilled were there already? 6, 9, 49. Why does the Torah say proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants? What do you mean all the inhabitants? It only pertains to a small group of people, a Hebrew servant that had his ear drilled and continued to remain until Jubilee. What's proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants? When does the Jewish New Year begin? Rosh Hashanah. The Eved Ivri with the ear drilled, when does he go free, Avram? Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, Yovel, after he has his ear drilled, even though the Jubilee begins when? On Rosh Hashanah, but he remains until Yom Kippur. 10 days he remains. And he goes free on Yom Kippur. But the Jubilee begins when? Rosh Hashanah. So why does he remain and he only goes free on Yom Kippur? One question answers the other. All of us are an Eved Ivri. We're all enslaved to our Yetzer Hara, whatever it is. Right? You look at people that just can't stop twitching with their phones, right? They're enslaved to their phones. Or whatever it is. Or Facebook, or drugs, or alcohol, or whatever it is. On Yom Kippur, when the Eved Ivri went free on Yom Kippur, it was a sign that all of us can free ourselves from our personal avdut. When? On Yom Kippur. And therefore, Leviticus 25:10 says, Yom Kippur, you proclaim liberty to all the inhabitants. Not just the Eved Ivri. Every person is enslaved, and on Yom Kippur, he can become free. How do you become free, Avram? Ein ben chorin mishosik b'Torah. Ein ben chorin, the Mishnah says. Who's truly free? A person that what? Occupies himself with Torah. Because then he rises above. Right? So on Yom Kippur is the day when all of the slaves, right? Slaves to fashion, to isms, to political concepts, you can free yourself with the holy day of Yom Kippur. You don't have to wait till Yom Kippur. You can do tshuva any day. But through tshuva, we can become free. We can get our lives back. Thank God, one day a week, Shabbos, but you can disconnect from the dumb phone. Right? Stop texting. And one day, I mean, people are mamish enslaved to their dumb phones. It's just frightening. In Middle Shmon Esrei, I couldn't believe it. In Middle Shmon Esrei, they just can't stop. That's the worst type of an Eved Ivri. Don't you agree? Yes. The worst type of an Eved Ivri, right? So the Torah lives in the real world. all the human problems and misery and failures and suffering, the Parsha opens up. That's life. They just heard the 10 Commandments. They're riding on cloud 9. Everything is rosy. In the next Parsha, Golda. Miskenim, widows, orphans, afflicted, poverty-struck people. But God just spoke to me. God speaks to us through our suffering. Look at the end of the Parsha. It's incredible. The end of the Parsha, the very last verse. In Exodus 24:17. Exodus 24, it's a frightening verse. Anybody? Exodus 24:17, Avram. I'm going to read that. The very last verse in the Parsha.
17.
Yeah, the last verse.
All right. The appearance of the glory of Hashem was like consuming fire on the mountaintop before the eyes of the children of Israel.
What did the Jews see? God appeared as a, what? Consuming fire? That's what it says.
Yeah.
God, says to Chafetz Chaim, God speaks to us through our pain and suffering. Isn't that incredible?
What's the message?
Huh? What's the message? The message is don't get too attached to this world. We're only here temporarily. So therefore, the suffering and the anguish is a sign that we're not here that long, and we're not supposed to have such a good time here. Enjoy it while you can, but you know, in Olam Haba, true enjoyment through pleasure is only in Olam Haba. So the Ramchal explains, people should not get attached too much to this world, so God sends them reminders, right? So therefore, this world, you're supposed to make the best of it, but everybody suffers. You can't get around it. Everybody suffers. And you have to know that the suffering is somehow part of what? Of the cheshbon. And no one suffers an ounce more than he has to. No one. It's all figured out. We don't know why. It's all part of the plan. One second. There's an amazing Rashi. Remember when Yosef HaTzadik was sold? Remember? He was kidnapped by his brothers and he was sold. He was sold to a caravan of Ishmaelites. And the Torah tells us what they were carrying in their saddlebags. Very important for 3,800 years ago. I need to know, Avram, what the Ishmaelite caravan was carrying in their saddlebag when Brother Joe was kidnapped and sold. Who cares? Torah's GPS, right? So Rashi says, normally the Ishmaelite caravan on the way to Egypt, they carry naft. Naft, how do you say that in English? Toxic fumes, tar, kerosene, toxic fumes. But this morning, Muhammad Ali woke up and he said, you know, today we're not going to carry toxic fumes, tar, and kerosene. Today we're going to put Chanel number 5 in our saddlebags. Right? Why? Because Rashi said that Yosef HaTzadik shouldn't become nauseous from what? From the smell of naft and kerosene and tar. So therefore, Muhammad Ali got this bee in his bonnet that this morning we're going to carry Chanel number 5. Remember Chanel, Charlie, what else? You know, good smelling stuff, right? So he thought that what? It's his idea. But who put the idea in his head? The big boss. So what's the message of Rashi? Many messages. One message is that not just our parnasa comes from God, but whether you're a shmata dealer or a brain surgeon or a plumber, even the profession also comes from Hashem. A person wants to be a plumber. Or a lot of people become millionaires from the shmata business. And some people are doctors and not matzliach. So the profession that you have in life is also mapped out by him, whether you should be successful or not. You're selling widgets or tar or Chanel number 5 or whatever. It's all Hashem's plan, giving you this idea. That's your tafkid in life, to do what that tafkid and make the best of it. But there's more to it. Yosef HaTzadik, he cares what he's smelling. He's got bigger fish to fry. He's just been kidnapped and almost murdered by his own brothers. He's on his way to Egypt in the Ishmaelite caravan. As far as he's concerned, he'll never see his beloved father again. You think he's worried, gold about what? Chanel number 5 or tar? What's Rashi talking about, Benjamin? That's on his mind. He's got bigger tzoros. Rashi is telling us that even the amount of suffering a person goes through is, how do you say, is measured. Yosef had to go through this terrible ordeal. He had to go through this ordeal, Rashi said, because he accused the brothers of calling the other brothers slaves, so he was made a slave. He had to go through this ordeal. But he didn't have to suffer toxic fumes. That's not part of the plan. Nobody suffers more than it's planned. It's all the plan. Supposed to try to help yourself and go to the best doctors, but in the end, you have to know that the great planner is in charge, and no one can harm a hair on your head unless he allows it. This is the message here of Parshat Mishpatim. Parshat Mishpatim. So people that are sick, they're wounded, and then the Torah says in Exodus 21, V'rapa yirapeh, you punch somebody out, you punch out his lights, you have to pay his doctor bills. V'rapo yirapeh, you have to heal him. Someone is sick, here the Rambam learns it says twice, heal, heal. I want to have that in English. Exodus 21:19. Exodus 21:19, the doctor should heal and heal. I get the picture. Who you calling to heal? Cure and cure. 21:19. How do they plan to Avram? You have the book right there. You want to take a look? Exodus 21:19. The last 2 words in Exodus 21:19. Yes, yeah, what kasha?
The last 2 words?
Yeah.
Provide for healing.
Provide for healing. But the Hebrew says, heal, he should heal. Cure, cure. Why is it written twice? So the Rambam, who happens to be a doctor, asked a very philosophical question. Who made the person sick? Hashem. So how, asked the Rambam, how am I allowed to heal the person? God made him sick. Ain't I going against God's will? This is the Rambam asking on himself in Moreh Nevuchim. He's playing the devil's advocate. And he was a great physician.
Right.
So he says, look at this pasuk. Heal, heal. There's a positive mitzvah to go to a doctor, and the doctor should try his utmost to what?
Heal you.
To heal the person. But the Rambam says, isn't that contradicting God's will? God made the person sick. So the Rambam says, God made the person sick to give the doctor the opportunity and the schus to what? To heal him. There's one profession that God calls himself in the entire Torah. One profession. Ani Hashem roifecha. Not I am God, your creator. Ani Hashem roifecha. I am God, your MD. Remember Marcus Welby, MD? Ani Hashem roifecha. That's the only profession that God calls himself in the Torah. That's why every Jewish mother wants her son to be what? My son the doctor. Because it's God's profession, right? So the Rambam says, yes, a person Leilani is sick because Hashem wants the doctor to make him better. Person needs the tikkun for whatever. We all suffer. But you have to go to the best doctors, and it's a schus for the doctor to cure the patient, because then the doctor becomes God's partner. The doctor, right?
That's why we can say refuah shalema.
Refuah shalema, and pray for the person and go to the best doctors. God created an imperfect world to give us the schus, Rabbi Yaakov, to what? To perfect the world. Perfect ourselves and the world. So he left the Bria undone with all the tzorot. God says, you have to be my partner. Fix yourself and fix the world. And Israel is the leader in high-tech, the Jewish doctors just came out with a cure for cancer. Did you read this, Bila? You don't read the Jerusalem Post? Yes, page 1. Jewish doctors just came out in Israel with a cure for cancer. The greatest medical breakthroughs, Reb Nachum, the greatest are found where? In Israel. Koinky dinky.
So what
The greatest, we get water from air, right? Drip irrigation. The greatest medical wonders, scientific wonders, comes from little Eretz Yisrael.
And you still want to kill us.
Rabbi.
Whenever there's a disaster anywhere in the world, who's their number one response team? All over who? Little Israel, not the U.S.
Right.
When there was an earthquake in Tehran a few years ago, Israel wanted to send a rescue team. Tehran, Iran, Brazil, we go all over the world. Even in Iran we wanted to go. They refused our help. They'd rather croak, but not to take help from Israel. That's the hatred. They hate us more than they love their own children. It's totally irrational. Iran refused. Israel, I'm going to help you. Israel has this technology to find people that are trapped underneath the rubble that no other country has. Like in Brazil now. They just saved 200 people in Brazil. Iran refused. Yes?
We won't miss
I
it.
have a question.
Go ahead. Only one.
This one, it's interesting because people who put in their will, like for instance, if somebody is very, very ill
Right.
and they don't want any extraordinary measures, like to
You
keep
mean
them alive.
to keep them alive, right?
Is that...
That's very problematic because you know that life, only the one who gives life has a right to what? To take it, right?
So,
Very problematic, I
Do
think.
not resuscitate, that's one thing, isn't it?
What?
If you ask to not resuscitate,
Yeah.
are you saying about assisted suicide? Is that what you're saying?
Euthanasia?
I'm saying, let's say somebody is very, very ill and it looks like they're going to die rather than put all these machines and things on them to keep them alive.
Do not resuscitate.
I don't know, that's very problematic, I don't know.
They're asking for you for no more intervention.
Right, so is that allowed?
I believe it is. I believe
I don't
it is,
know.
as long as if they're connected up to a machine,
Right,
you can't take it off
You're
the
not allowed to
machine.
take it.
But if, let's say, they're having a heart attack
right.
and they don't want to have intervention, the doctors are not going to respond. And that's,
The doctors have to, don't they? But if you have a...
if you do not resuscitate, they don't respond.
Who could put a value on human life? Who could put a value on the quality of human life?
What they have,
1 minute of life is an eternity.
I know that there's
So how could-
assisted suicide now, and euthanasia. And other people are helping people die.
Isn't
That's
that murder?
That's murder.
Right. The highest value is what? Life. V'chai bahem. V'chai bahem. Right? The whole Torah can be desecrated except 3 sins to save a life. Right? The highest value is human life. So you should try the best to keep the person alive, because there's a famous story that was written up in a few years back in Haaretz. Incredible. It was in a Hadassah hospital in Ein Kerem, and this person was on a life-saving machine for a while. You hear this? You can go back to Haaretz. It's probably on Google. And the doctor figured that this guy, it's just what? There's no hope for him, and just to linger in the bed, we need the bed for somebody else. So he turned off the life support system. He turned it off. You hear this? This doctor was not a religious person. He turned off the machine, and the patient died. The next night, who comes to him in the dream? This is the doctor saying later, and became about tshuva because of it. The person came to him in the dream and says, "Why did you do that to me? I was going through tikkunim. This is part of my tikkun. Now you shut off the machine. Now I'm going to have to be recycled again. Why did you do that to me?" And the dream was so real to him that from this day he became about tshuva.
It was written in the Haaretz.
It was written in the Haaretz years ago. Haaretz would write it. That's just pretty incredible. The doctor wasn't a believing person. But this patient came to him the next night after he was dead. He said, "I was going through tikkunim, and I needed this. And now that you jumped the gun on me, now I'm going to have to be recycled. Why did you do that to me?"
Rabbi,
So you cannot put a value on human life.
they're allowing abortion.
Only the one that gave life has a right to what?
Take it.
Rabbi Yaakov, no? Only Hashem.
What about-
Hashem decides, right? We have to try the best. It says, V'rapo yirapeh, twice. Heal, you should heal. And the Rama said that means the doctor has to try his best, his hardest, to do whatever he can to keep the person alive. Yes?
What about Sharon, who was on for years and years and years on life-saving?
So he died, I think, nobody turned off the machine. Not allowed to do that. No one, no. He was doing a tikkun. He was doing a tikkun, that's right. Every suffering in life is actually a tikkun, right? No one suffers more than he has to. And just like our fingerprints are unique. Avram, can I have your fingerprints? Avram. What? Right? No. Just like my fingerprints are unique, so my tafkid in life, and whatever, every person's pet, you know the story they tell, right? That this great Kabbalist came to a little village in Poland, and he said, listen, I have a way that you can exchange your pekel of tzoros. You know, it's a famous story, Avram. I think Isaac Bashevis Singer wrote about it, right? This great Kabbalist came to town, says, listen, you know, everybody has a pekel, a bundle. How do you say a pekel? A bundle of tzoros. Tomorrow morning, everyone bring their bundle of tzoros to the town square, and you'll be able to what? Exchange with your neighbor's bundle of tzoros. You hear this? Isaac Bashevis Singer wrote this. So the next morning, they all bring their pekel of tzoros. Who doesn't have tzoros? And they put it in a town square, and each one is looking at his neighbor's bundle of tzoros. Bill, and what does he say in the end? You know what? I'll take mine back. I'll take mine back. You don't know what's going on by somebody else. You don't know, right? Take a look. The Kotzker Rebbe was very sharp. And he says something amazing. If you look at Exodus 22:30, it says, Va'anshe kodesh tiyun li. People of holiness you shall be for me. Now we all know we're people, right? We know we're not Martians. There's no extra words in the Torah. Exodus 22:30. Va'anshe kodesh tiyun li. People of holiness you should be to me, says the Kotzker Rebbe. It's good to be Kodesh, but make sure you're a mensch first. Yiddish Benyamin. Before you're Kodesh, make sure you're a mensch. Anshe Kodesh tiyun li. You want to be holy? Fine. But before you're holy, make sure you're a mensch with derech eretz, with good midos, kind, courteous. That comes before Kedusha. Avram, hear this? Anshe Kodesh tiyun li. Be a mensch first. Derech eretz kodma la Torah. Derech eretz kodma la Torah. Pretty amazing. Here you have Exodus 24:1. To Moshe, God said, come up to me to the mountain with Aaron. Rashi said that this parsha, Exodus 24:1, is written out of place. This parsha belongs in Yisro. This parsha is before Exodus 24:1. God said to Moshe, come up the mountain. This parsha should be in Yisro, before the Ten Commandments. Why is it written here after? What's the message? Says Rav Soloveitchik, something amazing. Parshat Mishpatim deals with all the laws, how to treat a person that's down and out. The widow, the orphan, the broken, Sprecher mention the laws of kindness and chesed. Only when you learn that can you come up to God. You see, other religions believe that to be holy, you close yourself off in a monastery and you meditate on your navel all day. But Judaism says, no, to be holy, you have to interact with poor people, with broken people, to show kindness and consideration. Only when you learn Mishpatim are you ready to what? Alei al Hashem. And therefore this parsha is written out of sequence. Nice. Learn the laws of Mishpatim. Ben Adam lechaveroi. How to treat a person that's down and out. How to be kind and considerate and giving. Once you've learned that, only then Alei al Hashem. Only then are you ready to what? Up to Hashem. And therefore this parsha is written out of sequence. Pretty incredible. So here the Jews said, Nasa v'nishma, the famous words, Exodus 24:8. The Jews said,
And who, by the way, who said that?
Nasa v'nishma, what?
Who gave that explanation why that parsha was?
Rav Soloveitchik. Why this parsha is written out of whack? It should be written last week. But if you really want to come up to Hashem, that's only when you've learned the laws of loving kindness to people that need your chesed. Not to be a selfish person, to be a giving person, to be involved. That's the way to attain Kiddusha. Unlike some other religions, right? Aviezer, they close themselves off in a monastery and they chant all day. That's how you become holy, not in Judaism. Judaism is a religion of giving and reaching out and interacting and giving of yourself. Not just money, right? Giving your time, giving a shmeichel at the right time. How do you say shmeichel in English? Smile. Person's having a bad hair day, and you give him a smile. Right? Or small acts of chesed. I'll tell you. You take a ride on the bus and you get off and you tell the bus driver, told the Rabbi, his face lights up. You know, sometimes they're sour because they're fighting traffic and people are giving a hard time. They're famished and fatumult. You get off the bus, Daniel. I say, told the Rabbi, Yom Naim. His expression changes completely, Benjamin. He did an act of chesed. You don't even know. Now when he comes home, maybe he won't yell at his wife. Yeah. His whole attitude will be different. One of my passengers smiled at me and gave me a kind word. I see their face light up. They're like sourpusses. All the tension, you know the story, right? This Egged bus driver and this famous rabbi died on the same day, and they went to heaven. You know the story? All my stories are true, but some didn't happen yet. So the Egged bus driver wasn't religious at all, and this great rabbi, they died, they went to heaven, and this Egged bus driver gets a higher place in Olam Haba, who wasn't religious than what? Than this famous rabbi. So he complains to God, is this Olam HaEmet? This is the world of truth. I'm a famous rabbi. Every Shabbos I gave a big drasha, and this guy wasn't even religious. Why does he get a higher place in Olam Haba than me? So God says, I'll tell you. When you gave your drasha Shabbos morning, everybody conked out. When the Egged bus driver was driving, everybody was screaming, Shema Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. Like a Bronco, right? Driving around those curves. You see how they drive? Boy, you got to hang on for dear life. Everybody's screaming, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. So he deserves a higher place in Olam Haba. Right? Isn't it amazing? See how you tried. You smile, you get off the bus in Ashkelon, you smile, you say, thank you. Have a nice day. Wow. And it's free. It's Bechinam, Ein Kosev. Right? His whole attitude changes, and now he'll be kinder to his family. You never know. One small act of chesed aviezer, it's like a snowball, like an avalanche. Yidel by yidel. Right? Little yidel by yidel, we change the world. One kind word at a time, one smile at a time. Sibislach. That's my column in the... You didn't read my...
I didn't read it.
You didn't read it yet? It's called Step by Step. Da la 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 la. You become great, my Rebbe would say, little steps. One act of kindness, another act of kindness, and you build on it step by step. That's the secret of what? Of Parshat Mishpatim. Mishpatim, God's Mishpat. That's the way God runs the world, through Gilgulim, Tikkunim, and everyone has to do their part. We're all here to help each other. And whoever you meet, there are no coincidences. It's all part of the plan. Each one of us has to play our unique role. And no one can do it my way. How do I know, Rabbi Yaakov? Because my fingerprints are not your fingerprints. Just like God does not run out of fingerprints, he doesn't run out of tafkidim. How do you say that in English? Missions. And no one can do it my way. We're all unique and special. B'ni b'chor Yisrael. The first message that God gives to Pharaoh, my child, my firstborn is Israel. Avram, Exodus 4. So we're not just God's children. We're God's firstborn. Every human being is God's child, but the Jewish people are a b'chor. A b'chor. B'ni b'chor Yisrael. A family can have 22 children, but there can only be what?
One first.
One Bechor. There can only be one Bechor, right, Avram? There can only be one Bechor. And that's why Bechor is special, because he changes the status from a young couple to what? The parent. All the other kids, they're still parent, but who made them a parent?
The first.
The Bechor. So God says, we're his, Exodus 4, we're his Bechor, right? Nothing to be jealous about. That's the way it is. We're his Bechor. Mini Bechor Yisrael. And therefore, God gave us 2 Torahs. The firstborn, Rabbi Yaakov, gets a Pishnayim. No Kuminkidinki. Why did God give us 2 Torahs, Avnachim? Look at Parshat Kiteitzei. A Bechor gets a double portion from the Papa. So the Papa gave us a double portion, Binyamin. What's a double portion? Torah Shebiktav, the Torah Shebal Peh. Olam Hazeh, Olam Haba. Because we are the Bechor. We are the Bechor, Avram. So we get a double portion, right?
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.